Hubert de Foresta is a botanist and ecologist. He's a specialist on tropic woods, and he works for decades on how soil in woods is used after forests were devastated, burned, and so on and so forth. And he's also a specialist on non-wood forest products. This is a very catchy phrase in English. In German, I'm not sure if there is an equivalent existing. So it is all products that you can take out of the wood, also in order to generate income or side income, but you leave the trees there, so you do not cut the trees. And Hubert's main research is taking place in Indonesia, in Guinea, Ethiopian, and in Democratic Republic of the Congo. So you will talk about your research in these countries. And I will give the word to you in 1 minute, but I would like to also greet already now Johanna and also Helmut Kandel. Johanna has the exhibition at the Lower Belvedere, and Hubert contributed to the catalog of Johanna. Then I would like to welcome the expert we have among us, Bernhard Kaiser. He's himself a man that gains turpentine, also ein Pächter, but he does this, I think, for a main income, not for a side income. So, ich möchte auch Sie herzlich begrüßen, Herr Bernhard Kaiser, dass Sie bei uns sind. And then I would like also to address already the following speakers. Barbara Steiner, she will have a dialogue with Johanna Kandel. Katalin Erdődy is here already. She will present in the afternoon. Martin Biacek, he also will have his presentation in the afternoon. And I do not yet see Gabriele Sturm. But I would also like to greet you, Claudia Slana, my colleague, who was in charge yesterday in the cinema for the kickoff of the public program. Also ich wünsche uns jetzt einen guten Vortrag mit Hubert de Foresta. Das wird auf Englisch sein. Und Hubert, I'd like to ask you to start with your presentation in English. I announced already that it will not be in German. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, as said, I will do my presentation in English. I'm very sorry, but I don't speak German. Sorry very much. I would like first to thank Belvedere 21 and especially Christian, and also, of course, to Johanna and Helmut, because this is because of them that I'm here today. And in fact, this is a little bit strange because it is an unexpected consequence, my visit here, of collaboration that lasts, we can say that collaboration, yeah, completely informal, that began about 5 years ago with Johanna, yeah, when she contacted me to have information about Damar trees. Damar produces resin, and I was kind of specialist of this tree and the system in which it grows. So my presentation will be on a subject completely different from the subject of this morning, I think. Also, I didn't understand anything. It will be on what we call non-timber forest products. You know, in the past, there was another expression to call these products that are all the products that comes from the forest, but that are not timber. Timber is a bole of the tree when it is cut into planks, in beams, and to make furniture, to make construction wood. This is timber. All the other products, they were called in the past minor forest products. And implicitly, it meant that the major timber product, the major forest product was timber. Yeah? So in the 1970s, something like that, Forester decided to change the name from minor forest product, which was a little bit pejorative, and which was not reflecting reality for thousands and even millions or hundreds of millions of people in the global south. They were for them really major products. We shall see that today. So, what are non-timber forest products? I thought the best way to begin is to present mushrooms and to present my wife Claire, bearing a big cep that we found on our land in the forest in the Pyrenees, close to Perpignan in the south of France. And there is really something special with mushroom, because it is like a play, like a game. When you look for the mushrooms, you never know you will find them. You never know where you will find them. Not exactly, but with time, you increase your confidence in your knowledge of the environment, and with time we will find mushrooms more easily because you know better and better the environment. This is important because it shows, the first step here, to show that non-timber forest products, such as mushrooms, they connect us, and they connect us with nature. My wife, you can see below also, we have 2 dogs. These dogs are trained for searching truffles. Truffles are mushrooms also, but underground truffles. And you can see in my hand, below, on the right, you can see a big Melanosporum truffle, black winter truffle, that we found in the garden of a friend. And so, I myself, I'm a non-wood forest product or a non-timber forest product harvester. I like to go in the forest after work. I work as a researcher, but after work, I really like to go in the forest. I go with my dogs. We find mushrooms. We find other things like asparagus, wild asparagus shoots in spring. And I like to collect them, and I like to eat them. It's very good. I also collect in the place where we are, there are a lot of mastic trees. Mastic trees, you know, it's used for paint, it's used for chewing gum, it's a resin tree also, but it bears small fruits, small berries, and these small berries, you can use it as pepper. So you dry them and then you grind them. I grind them and put them in sauce tomato, for instance, and in salads and so on. Not many people know that you can eat these berries, but I like to collect them. I like to collect them, but personally, for me, it's even not a side income. It's a hobby. It's a hobby, but with the truffles, it's a little bit different. Why? Because my wife, she developed as a main income-generating activity, she developed workshop specialized on truffle workshop, in which she used the truffles I find, in addition to truffles she is obliged to buy, to make initiation workshop and degustation workshop on truffle. And here you can see there is not one truffle, there are at least 7 very delicious truffles that you can find in Europe. And in the characteristics of the workshop of my wife, she is the only one in the world to do that. She is able to make people tasting the 7 species at the same time. Why? I shall tell you if you want later. Another important non-wood forest product or non-timber forest product that grows in Mediterranean forest is cork. This is the bark of the cork oak tree. In non-timber forest products, you have many kinds of plant origin. Of course, there are fruits, like the jackfruit here. You have also bamboo shoots, like here. You have resin and latex and all other exudates. Here it's latex of the hevea tree, the rubber tree, but other, like leaves. These leaves of Marantacea in the jungle of Congo are very much in use as a wrapping material. And of course, these are just examples. In fact, the list of the kind of non-timber forest product is almost infinite. For instance, in Nepal, I learned recently that they use the flowers of rhododendron to make beverage. This is obviously a non-timber forest product that grows in the Himalayas. One important group is also the ornamental plants, like here this heliconia. But non-timber forest products are also of animal origin. Some animals are used. For instance, the snails that you see here on a market in Guinea. Snails, but also insects, like this palm-weevil larva. But also fish. You have river in the forest. And game. Here, this photograph is taken in Crouy, near Crouy, in the agroforest example that we shall see, which is based on the non-timber forest product. Many of these products are first and foremost for home consumption. You can see here an illustration by a Malaysian artist. It says, it's in English, if you can see the environment, you have big trees with fruits that fall down and a small shelter in which you have a series of kids burp. Yeah, they have eaten so much durian. These are durian, and durian fruit is the king of fruits in Southeast Asia. Very delicious and very much praised. When it is a season, they said, we'd spend more time guarding Mrs. Yusuf durian trees. Meaning what? Meaning these durians, they are very important as a cash income. But also, when this is a season, all people in villages, they can eat these fruits, very, very rich fruits in various nutriments. But non-timber forest products are also commercialized, many of them. Another illustration from the same artist. This time it's in Bahasa Melayu, it's in the Malay language. And you can see the guy on the left asking sebiji berapa, meaning how much this one. And the guy who sells the durian on the right says $6. Then you can see on the second image a big car coming. The guy from the big car coming to the little stall, asking, okay, semua berapa, meaning how much for all? And the guy answering $70. And then, that's okay, deal. And you can see the poor guy asking just for one durian with nothing in his hand. And the rich guy has gone with all the durian. So many NTFPs are commercialized. I said earlier that I shown some leaves. I will sit down. I don't like to sit down, but I'm obliged to do so. Yeah, here with the arrow, I think you can see the arrow or not? Yes, here. You see the arrow on the, yeah? Okay. So these are the leaves of the Marantacea that I talked about earlier. And in the Marantacea you have nuts. These are cola nuts. Very important for cultural reasons, but also as a stimulants. Coming from the forest and plantations in kind of agroforest in Guinea, for instance, but also in all the Congo region. On this photograph, what you can see is a small market in a village, also in Guinea. And you see this woman, she is selling a few sets of, I don't know if you can see what it is. These are big snails from the forest, collected in the forest. And that was really funny. She had an umbrella here. You can see the umbrella. The umbrella, in fact, she used from time to time to get the snails that tried to escape, to get them there. And on this other photograph, what you see here is smallholder rubber tappers who sell their rubber. They had coagulated the rubber they collected in pieces like they call slab. These slabs can be kept in the water for a while, and they wait for the trader to come to their village where they can sell their harvest. So this is interesting because it shows three ways of commercializing the non-timber forest product: a big market in a big city, a small market in a village, but also in villages for specialty products. So NTFPs, there have been studies recently in the covering the 3 continents. The studies were done with exactly the same protocol, the same methods, and they collected data on the contribution of environmental income in villages. Most of them were close to forest. It was published here, you see, in the World Development Journal. So 33 countries, 33 village areas. And you can see on this drawing, you can see that forest income, meaning not in the environmental income, but the part of the environmental income that comes from forest, it represents about 20%. You can see on the y-axis, 20% of the income of villagers. It's different, you can see also it's different for here. Here is many countries from Africa. Here, red losange, it's country from Asia. And here in green square, it's countries from Latin America. And globally, you can see that countries from Africa are poorer than countries from Asia, which are themselves poorer than countries from Latin America. So this is important. And if we look into details, you can see that in the forest income, the mean income from timber is less than 2%. So 18% on average represents the income of non-timber forest product for these villagers globally. It's important to understand that many crops were once NTFPs. They were collected in the forest at the beginning. Coffee, for instance. Durian, of course. Durian is a big tree of the rainforest in Indonesia. Coffee arabica, for instance, is a native of Ethiopia, and I visited some forests in Ethiopia where coffee was natural there, still. Three examples of pure plantation of what were before NTFPs, which are not anymore. Camellia Sinensis here, you can see Camellia Sinensis. Any idea of what it can be? Yes, the tea plant. The tea is in fact a tree of rainforest, and it is being grown in plantation like that, and it is small because it was always cut to get the leaves. Hevea brasiliensis, the rubber, is now mainly in large estate plantation, with not so much diversity, of course, and same for Eleis guineensis, which is the old palm. But many NTFPs are in between, meaning that they are cultivated in environments that are not weeded in planted forests that we have called agroforest. Here you can see 5 examples from Sumatra. Rubber here. We have agroforest with fruit trees, with durian here. Benzoin, benzoin is kind of incense. Rotan is a palm, liana. And damar is here. Damar we shall see a lot of pictures afterwards. These examples are from Sumatra, where benzoin agroforest you can find in this area, rattan agroforest in this kind. Rubber agroforests were once covering 2 million hectares of land in the eastern part of Sumatra. Durian and other fruit trees, they were almost everywhere. And damar agroforest, which we shall talk about here now, are located in the southern part of Sumatra here. So what are these damar agroforests? They are based, in fact, on the damar tree. And the damar tree is a big tree of the species Shorea javanica here. It can grow up to 2 meters in diameter and 45 to 50 meters high. Next to this photograph of the damar tree, you have a photograph of the damar agroforest. This is a planted forest. It has been planted about 50 years ago by local farmers, mainly to produce the damar resin, that we shall see now. The Shorea javanica, the damar tree, was and is still a component of the natural rainforest of the area. Unfortunately, this natural rainforest is vanishing. It is vanishing, but the damar tree has been cultivated for so long that not the damar tree. You can see this picture here I took from a book during the picture taken during the Dutch period from around 1900, of a very big tree in the forest that was tapped for its resin that you can see here, and the resin flow from tapping holes that are regularly refreshed to let the resin flow. Resin is quite sticky and it dries quite fast. What are the uses of this resin? Locally, and we shall say that in fact the damar name comes from light. It means light. It was used for making light torches, to have light at night. In Indonesia it is mainly used for incense, but also for paint and a little bit for making varnish. It is exported, this resin, and for a long time. It is exported since the Dutch era. It is exported to various countries for making what? For making paint, varnish, and more recently for making emulsifier in beverages. When you drink soda, when you drink Coca-Cola, you may have gum arabic, but you may have damar also. So these are connection through the resin to the outer world. Damar trees are tapped. The resin is collected by harvesters. Harvesters sell their damar in the forest, in the agroforest. They sell it to people in small shops in the forest. And in exchange, they go back to their home because their damar agroforest plot can be very far from the village. And they sell it to someone in the forest who buys it and who will do some sorting. Doing this sorting, she, usually women, but it can be men also, will employ carriers who will bring the resin to the village, where it will be sorted again in larger warehouses, which are still quite small, so that the resin for the owner, it provides a regular monthly income equivalent somehow to a salary when they have 1 to 2 hectares of agroforest. And resin harvesting is also, as you can see, a source of local jobs through harvesting, carrying, sorting, trading. But in the Damar agroforest, you don't have only Damar. You have also fruit trees that are planted, and many fruit trees. To give you an idea, on 1 hectare of Damar agroforest, you have about 100 productive Damar trees, and about 15 to 20 durian trees, and 25 to 50 other fruit trees. So when this is a durian season, you can see many people in the agroforest. They are all there. They are cleaning under the trees to keep their garden, and to collect the fruits. In this place, as in many places in Indonesia, when a durian fruit falls down, anybody who passes by can take it for him or for her. Yeah? So that's why children generally go to the garden and they guard it. When they hear a durian that fell down, they go directly to get it. Durian is not the only fruit. You have duku also, and when it's the duku season, duku is small fruit, very delicious, with a grapefruit, a little bit like grapefruit taste, but very sweet. And you have all the kids in the agroforest, but also many people collecting the fruits, which for 1 month and a half, 2 months, it's a big business in the agroforest, with kids and everybody collecting the fruits, going to the local shop, selling the fruits, and the shopkeeper who put the duku fruits into sacks, and to rent a truck to bring them to the market in the big cities in Sumatra and in Java, in Jakarta. These people here, it's a little bit different. They came from other region during the harvest, because some traders, they buy the harvest before the fruits are mature. They buy the harvest on a few hectares, and then they bring their workers to do the job. And all these fruits are then going to the city markets when they are sold a good price. So fruits in Damar agroforest, it's a regular production for some species. I didn't show all the species, of course, and an irregular and unpredictable harvest for some other species like durian and duku. They have an unpredictable harvest, on average 1 time every 3 years. For local consumption, it's always important. For the owner, it's very important contribution to income in case of mass fruiting season. So every 3 years, more or less, on average, this is very important. In mass fruiting season, people can make triple their income, 3 times their annual income, thanks to this to this mass fruiting. Again, fruit harvesting is a source of jobs for local people, but also for people from outside. People there, they cook with wood, fuel wood, and of course Damar agroforests are the major source of fuel wood. You can see here, if I can, here, this is the bowl of a duku tree. And Duku and Damar are going very well together because Damar and Durian, they are canopy trees. But the Duku tree is an undergrowth tree. It likes to grow below these trees. So they go very well together. Timber is also exploited for some time now, but in a very low impact harvesting. You can see here the trees are cut down. Usually these are old, unproductive Damar trees or other species, and they are processed directly on the spot. Oh la la! Thank you. You can see here, because it's very important not to make damage in this agroforest, because all trees have a value. So they developed a system of fine that encourages chainsaw operators to be very cautious. And when they see the tree is too big for them, they ask special climbers from the village to climb in the tree and to cut the branches before they cut down the tree. Okay, I won't go about the process in which the system is established. It's very interesting, but I have no time, sorry for that. Let's say that after the system begins by a slash and burn classic in shifting cultivation, but it's completely transformed by the fact that people will plant fruit trees and Damar trees and coffee trees and pepper liana at the same time as they plant their rice crop. And then they manage for the trees to grow, they protect the trees until year 20. Year 20, the Damar trees can begin to be. Yes?
Can you hold the microphone here and not here?
Okay.
Please.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. You had to tell me before because I've only 5 minutes left. Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. I thought that the discussion was about good life and community life. I don't know about you, what you think, but for me, when I see these guys, these kids, they are so happy to go in their forest there, so happy to live there, close to the river like here, that they look happy at least, and they are happy. I stayed there quite a lot of time. You have a picture here on the left of an old village. You can see the houses. They are old houses. These houses are maybe 100, 150 years old. Well maintained with facilities. Here it's a little bit different. When people go and open a new piece of forest or old successional vegetation, they build a new Damar agroforest. They stay in rudimentary shelters, like here, but they are still happy. Some people in the villages we can say they get rich because of Damar and because of fruit trees and so on. You can see here the house of my friend Pa Ali, who died now. And last time I was there, that was quite funny. This is a photograph from 2014. Last time I was there. The neighbor of Pa Ali called me. And this is the guy here, here. He called me and he said, "Oh, Pa Hubert, do you remember me?" "No, who are you?" "Yeah, I was the one of this photograph. I was the one." So, this is the guy, the young boy here, is the one here. Now a father of two beautiful kids, 20 years after my first photograph. That was interesting, I think. This is now in Pasabi, the friend who opened a new Dhamma garden about 20 years ago, and I was there at that time, a little bit later, and I helped him collect and plant another species in his garden as experimentation. And this plant gives eaglewood. And eaglewood is a very, very expensive non-timber forest product. So Dhamma agroforests are also for many people a place for experimentation. Eaglewood is difficult to explain. You see eaglewood here, yeah? Yeah, what he has in his hand. It's in fact a disease that transforms the wood of this species, of a particular species. And it gives the wood a special smell and special properties. It's very much sold in Arabia and China. Locally called, yeah, for making incense, special incense. It has special properties. So, Krui is a small harbor where the resin is going to be sold to big traders. And you can see here, this is a Krui city. You can see here that this Dhamma business is very important for the local economy, it says on this statue. And these are the two pillars of the local economy. This is Dhamma tree here and a sailfish here, close to the ocean, so fishing is very important also. You have both. So this resin goes into a big warehouse where it is sorted, and the best grade, you can see here, Gom Dhamma A, Indonesia, is going for export. So back to resin, this resin here, it's connecting to both nature. As you can see here, this large forest, many people, when they see this landscape, they don't know this is a planted forest. This is what we call an agroforest. They think this is natural forest. Even my friends, agronomist, I worked with him. He was there before I came, and he didn't know that was a planted forest. He didn't know at all. And I must say, I didn't say that yet, but these forests, agroforests, are very important for the conservation of the diversity of natural forest species. You can see here the monkeys, the hornbills like that, you can see in the agroforest. We had made studies, and these studies, they show that for plants, about half of the species that you can find in the natural rainforest are present in this agroforest. That's very interesting and very important. And so, this resin is connecting us both to nature, and to people. Through their work, and through this resin, when you use resin, if you are an artist, if you drink Coca-Cola, you can think, oh, is there a resin inside? And this resin, it comes from this forest. And now I know a little bit the people there. I know that I sustain their life by doing that. Because if there was no people wanting to use and to buy their products, they will cut the forest. They will cut their agroforest and make something else. Oil palm, why not? So my key messages here are three. The NTFPs, they contribute usually quite a lot for local livelihoods, for local people economy. We have seen a drawing from a study, global study, about 20% of the income of local people, which is quite important. But also it connects local people to nature. You have seen in what kind of environment they work, in what kind of environment they tap the resin, and so on. And it is the same for other NTFP products. Yeah? Connects local people to nature and to us through the products. And it connects us to both faraway people and to nature in these places. If we don't buy any more Damar resin, there will be no Damar agroforest anymore, and many species from the natural forest will disappear. I think NTFPs, the example here I took from a drawing from Johanna in her exhibition, the tapping of turpentine was probably at what time as important as it is now for people in the Damar agroforest. Thank you. I think I wanted to finish on that. Thank you very much. Okay, if you have questions, yes?
Overpopulation of these parts of Asia and deforestation. You showed us kind of like idyllic coexistence between the people and the forest, but how it looks for them for the future?
Yeah. Okay. The system exists now, had been invented by local people in about year 1870, yeah. Still you can find old Damar garden, and the system is, for the moment at least, is resisting quite well, much better than other systems that I have studied there. I have studied in particular rubber agroforest systems. The rubber agroforest systems, they are all vanishing in Indonesia because they cannot compete with oil palm and with pure rubber plantation with much better germplasm. But these agroforests, they still are there. They still continue. They are transmitted from generation to generation. People have less in this area. They have less and less children. In the past, the families were 10 children or something like that. Now it's about 2 to 3. Most of the children, they migrate. They migrate to other cities, but they come back. So for the moment at least, the system is quite sustainable, but who can predict the future? Me not.
Thank you also from my side. I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned several times in your presentation the owners of the forest, and I was curious to understand how these local societies are structured and who has access to ownership and how it works.
Yeah, okay. In the past, there was a communal ownership for shifting cultivation areas. Yeah? before the Dharma system was established. When in many countries in the south, the fact of planting trees on the ladang, on the Sweden, gives you a right of ownership right. Yeah, this is true in Africa. This is true in Indonesia, in Asia, in Latin America. I think I'm not completely sure, but what I've seen in Africa and in Asia, yes, for sure. The fact of planting trees. This is why there had to be a consensus in villages for planting damar and planting other trees, because it meant that the land that was communal before would be privatized. Yeah, so it went through, and it didn't go at the same pace in all villages of the coast of Krui. Yeah. So right now, if you look at the ownership, each Dhamma plantation has an owner. When the owner is the one who planted the trees the first time, he has almost any right on the Dhamma garden. He can sell, he can cut down, can do anything. But when the Dhamma garden is inherited, it goes to the grandson, normally. And the grandson is in charge of the garden, but he cannot do everything he wants. If he wants, for instance, to change the orientation of the garden, of the plantation, of the forest, he has to ask the extended family, all the brothers and sisters. If he wants to transform it in a cocoa plantation, for instance, he cannot do that like that. He has to ask the others. So that it means also that these are rules, local rules, that also are favoring sustainability of the system. Once established, because most of the gardens now, they have been inherited. There are almost just a little bit in the northern area of Krui. There was still some place for establishing agroforest, but otherwise there is no new agroforest. The photos you have seen with 28-year-old agroforest, these are the last agroforest that has been established. There was no agroforest established since then, almost no. Yes, in Rata.
New one in Rata Akung, and
Yeah.
he's planting now. He says he plants many trees. And
Yeah,
maybe
because
just met
Yeah. Because in Rata Agung, this is a place in the north of the territory. Not all people planted Dhamma trees. They all came from the center of the Dhamma culture. They opened the forest there because there was a new road, and they opened the forest beginning in 2004, and they 1984. Sorry, 1984. The road was there in 2000, something like that, and there was a long delay. Many of the people there, they made pepper and coffee plantations. They later transformed it, and so it can be the case now into Dhamma plantation, yeah, with fruit trees. It's okay about ownership? Yes.
I'm wondering, is there any pressure on the people there to go for monoplantation, because you can make faster a profit when it comes to the global markets, and the powers is really enormous. So I'm wondering how long this wonderful model can exist within these strong forces around.
Yeah, we come back to the question of sustainability, and as I said, I cannot know for the future. The pressure is enormous. There was a very big pressure beginning in 2002, something like that, because of the establishment in the Incroix area, directly, very close to the city, of a few sawmills. And sawmills were there as they needed to be filled. And so I was really worrying at that time if all people will go and cut their dama trees, because there is an enormous potential in terms of timber. There are millions cubic meter of good timber, valued timber in dama trees. So that attracted a few people, but I was surprised not so much, because when I came back in 2014, I've seen almost the same landscape. A few people had gone to timber and replaced their plantation with mainly cocoa plantation or citrus, but that was marginal, completely marginal. So I was surprised. I don't know if it will last, but you have also this social pressure locally on Dama. They already had, before in the past, they had a disaster with clove tree, because they planted at the time clove tree in monoculture plantations. And those that kept clove tree under the Dama trees, they had no problem. They were not so rich as the other who made pure plantation. But one day, there was a disease on clove tree, and all the clove trees died. And those who still had the Dama plantation correct and planted clove below Dama, they had not so much suffer. But the others, they suffer really, really a lot, because they had nothing else than clove plantation. All this is now in the memory of the people, and they talk about and they tell this story. But I must say that I've seen other and studied other agroforests. This one is particularly profitable and particularly resisting compared to others.
Hubert, I would also like to ask you this economic aspect of the non-wood forest product. When did this become research topic for you, or is this you know what I mean? You are a botanist and ecologist, and when did you become interested in this economic aspect?
I worked with economists. Of course, I didn't do all this study myself. My work was mainly on trying to understand how people established such a system. You know, the trees, the Dama trees, they take 20 years before they can be tapped. So how people live during these 20 years before it can be tapped? They adopted a very nice solution by developing a successional agroforestry system. So we had a program with economists, with anthropologue. Yeah, that's why I know about the ownership and so on a little bit. But also with mammal specialists, with bird specialists, and so we had a big program really on understanding this system. Myself, I was working on this kind of system more than on natural forest, because I thought already when I began in 1979, that was the first time I went there, and I've seen this Dama agroforest, which we did not call like that at that time. We didn't know what it was. I was very much interested, and I said there is something fantastic here that should be known by other people in other countries. They cannot, certainly not, mimic completely the model with the same species and so on, but they can be inspired by the process they use. So my aim was describing the process and describing also assessing the benefits in economic terms. That's why I worked with others, but also in terms of biodiversity. So my specialty here was to study the plant diversity that this kind of system can harbor.
Good. I don't know if we can also, we are a small group, we can continue during lunch. I would like to invite you now for lunch. We will be served in the back here. And so we will have a 1 hour break and we will continue at 2 o'clock with the conversation between Barbara Steiner and Johanna Kandel. Und ja, dann schlage ich jetzt mal vor, dass wir in die Mittagspause gehen.